Good morning, friends, and welcome back to Astrology Today. My name is Mel Rose, and I'm here to share your daily aspects. Today is Sunday, February 27, 2022. And the sun is in Pisces right now, putting a spotlight on this time at the end of the solar cycle, the end of the zodiac, where we rest and we sit back and we relax and we dream and we create, we recreate, we even procreate. And the creative possibilities are particularly intense and expanded right now because Pisces ruling planets, both Neptune and Jupiter, are in Pisces at this time. So, Jupiter represents experiences that we can put ourselves into that expand our notion of what creativity, what we can create with our own lives. And Neptune really stands for inspiration and connection, both to spirit and to the human collective. So, we've got this increased flow of inspiration and connection, lending to our creative capacity at this time. And then the moon begins in Capricorn today, making ingress to Aquarius this afternoon. And this is a shift in our internal, our personal life vibe from sort of a head down worker mode to sort of a pull out and get a broader perspective. Aquarius calls us out into the human collective, asks us to make connections and, look out for our fellow human beings. And the waning crescent nature of this moon today invites us to continue letting go of what it is that no longer serves us, okay? Whatever we have left over from our last creative cycle, whatever we have just sitting in the closet ready to be pushed out, also outdated ideas, thoughts, attitudes, dispositions. Once we realize that we've been holding on to something that no longer serves us, it's time to just push it out the door, literally and figuratively. I'm going to get right into the aspects, but I want to first point out that there is a legend here. This legend has all of the symbols that are on the page today, so if you need a reference point, it's over here. Otherwise, I have divided the page into two columns, one for each of our luminaries. Now, the moon sheds light on the inner life. This is how it feels to be in your body, your heart, and your mind, how it feels to be at home, and also, all those things we think, feel, know, and intuit, the stuff that happens personally on the inside that doesn't necessarily get expressed in the outer life. The sun sheds light on our outer lives, and this is really the person that people first get to know when they meet us, and who we are, how we engage in our work, social, and civic spheres out in the world. And I address the sun's and the other planets' aspects on the side because they take longer than these lunar aspects, and they have more to do with what's going on in the outer world. And I didn't say this, but the lunar aspects in transits are generally pretty brief, and again, they have more to do with those things we think, feel, know, and intuit. And we start with the moon today on Central Standard Time, friends, at 3:06 in the morning, and then at 4:05 in the morning. These are overlapping, and they have to do with this Venus conjunct Mars, right? They're getting closer and closer together. So the moon makes a conjunct with Venus, which is already in an amplified effect. The moon makes a conjunct with Mars, which is already in an amplified effect. So really from like 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., we are experiencing this sort of the supportive feeling that comes from it being emotionally stable, this emotional stability and resilience that our partnerships are bringing us, and the strength to push forward, okay? Because Venus and Mars were both receptive and we're assertive, so we're really able to get what we need and to pursue what we don't have yet. And then at 8:49 in the morning, the moon makes a conjunct with Pluto. So see, Mars and Venus are conjunct coming up in a few days here. So Pluto is moving ever closer to these two planets that are already close together. They're all in Capricorn. They are all currently ruled by Saturn, and these are themes of stability, structures, and networks that we rely on for support and validation, and our duty to maintain them. The moon making a conjunct with Pluto, usually Moon and Pluto, it just means that we get these sort of we get deep into our emotions or into our thought processes, and we can have, deep realizations, memories, or ideas that really transform, intuitions that really transform our outlook. So, in conjunct energy is amplifying. It tends to amplify the effects both of the moon side, which is that think, feel, know, and intuit part of your life, and this is transformative energy here. So we have inner strength and transformative energy here, and positive shifts are at hand. And I say shifts like changes, but Pluto is transformative. So, if you feel some transformations coming on, if you feel some things really on the verge of a deep and total change, that's not surprising. It's actually coming up. It's almost like foreshadowing today. We're feeling that transformative energy. And then from 8:49 to 12:35 p.m. for about 3.5, almost 4 hours, and that's going to be a.m. actually. We have the void of course moon. This was void of course, which means that the moon was making its last aspect in the sign of Capricorn. And so after that, before it goes into Aquarius, this is a time where it's said to be sort of not influenced by either of the signs that it would normally be influenced by. So, like our moon is our own, we're less influenced by sign typology, and it's a good time to get into your intuitive practices and your creative practices. And then at 12:35 the next morning, Monday morning, the moon makes ingress to Aquarius, and that turns our inner life attention out into the collective good. We network, we seek out allies. And some guidance I received while I was reflecting on this was that, over analysis at this time, Aquarius is very scientific and analytic and trying to make bigger changes for the general good. But over analysis at this time can bring on feelings of helplessness, especially when it comes to the greater good. And there are things going on out in the world right now that do leave us feeling a little bit helpless. So, just understand that dwelling too deeply in those problems that we don't have much of a direct effect on can be overwhelming for ourselves. So don't be afraid to take a break from the news cycle, and attend to your own heart, or your own community, your own family, the people that you can have an effect on. On the sun side of the page, in the ongoing column, we have Venus conjunct Mars through the spring equinox, which will be March 20th. If there is some anxiety or indecision, remember this over-analysis. Choose not to dwell on it, okay? Keep pushing forward because the transformation is in the works. So, I'm saying let's be intentional going into these transformative qualities that are about to impact our partnerships. And again, that's both our work, that's all our work, love, and life partnerships. Okay, so it can be your romantic partnership, your work partnership. Venus and Mars and Pluto are all in Capricorn at this time. So they're very Saturn influenced, and it's about the work we have to do. Keep being intentional and turn your analytic mind toward the good of your partnerships and what you can do within those to keep pushing your idea of what the transformation should look like forward. Okay, your partnered idea, right? Partnership goals. And then we also have Jupiter sextile Uranus also through the spring equinox, which will be on March 20th. Don't take this good fortune opportunity for granted. This is really like good fortune, positive expansion, opportunities to expand our experience and to get more out of life. in a cooperative situation here with your capacity to intuit what changes need to be made. You're awakening to the shifts and changes that you can make in order to bring bigger and better things into your life, in order to expand your experience and make it more, in general, like exciting and fun, and a reflection of who you are and who you wish to be in the world. Very positive changes are available, so be open to those great opportunities. And then today, I believe, is day 3 of 4 for Venus sextile Neptune. We also had Mars sextile Neptune going on. So this is really our Venus conjunct Mars, the partnership goals that we are working on, the amplification of those energies, both the pushing and pulling energies that really sort of get our wheels turning, right? And in this context, it's really a sensual, sort of even sexy vibe, just a very creative vibe. If we're talking about workplace partnerships, of course, I'm not recommending that you get sensual or sexy with the people you work with, unless you're married to them, and then, take that home. But inspired, sensual, and we are receiving attention and affection with a sort of comfort and grace. Also, Mars in sextile with Neptune, we're able to give attention and affection to pursue what it is we desire with a certain amount of just comfort and grace. Like we feel very capable, and we feel a very cooperative vibration with the partners that we're choosing in our lives. So that's really great. I think this is all really great. But look at all this conjunct. We've got a new moon coming up on Wednesday in Pisces. That's going to be a great time, a very fertile time to set intentions, to start planting seeds, right? So keep the fertility thing in mind there. Be careful where you plant your seeds at this time. But then you've got Mercury conjunct Saturn coming up. That's your day-to-day thoughts, plans, and communications intensified with your sense of structure and stability. And then on Thursday, we've got Mars conjunct Pluto and Venus conjunct Pluto coming up together. They're all going to be conjunct together, right? So this is, our partnerships and our partnership goals further intensified with transformative energies. Okay, so things are changing. We're going to get some fresh starts coming up here. Pluto is about the endings and the beginnings, the death and the rebirth. And while we may mourn the loss of one thing, we can very much celebrate the fact that there's something new coming in. You can't create something fresh without sort of letting something else go. So conjunct energy all over the page, and then this sextile cooperative energy, and there's this transition. So very, very intense, very, what we're feeling and what we're noticing, we feel and we notice intensely, deeply, and we've got really transformative energy on the page and sort of on the agenda at this time. So keep that in mind. And that is the aspects for today. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're still with me here 13 minutes in, go ahead and like my post here. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, click the notification bell. I post this up almost always 7 p.m. the day before. So, don't miss a day, all right? And we'll look at what's going on today, every day, and what's been ongoing and what's coming up as well. And now I'm going to get into talking a little bit about some tarot. First, I want to talk to you about the card on the side of the page. This one represents the first 10 days of the sun's transit through Pisces. So, Pisces, the sun transits in Pisces about 30 days. And this is just the first 10 days. We're still inside that beginning of the Pisces, the sun Pisces transit. And Eight of Cups, really, this is about, generally it's about a feeling of loss or abandonment. But, I really look at this in a positive way, like perhaps we made an emotional investment, or we put our heart and soul into a project, or we put all of our all of our energy and even money perhaps into, a hunch that something would turn out well. And perhaps it did turn out well, like you paid for 8 cups and you got 8 cups. You put enough emotional energy in to get 8 cups and you got 8 cups. But then, we have this sort of torrent of expanded inspiration and creative capacity. And cups are really very much about your intuition, your inspiration, your creative capacity, your emotional life. And what it tells me is that we got here and then we got an expanded flow. And so this really wasn't it represented us when we created it, but it no longer represents us, because our inspiration got bigger, and we need a sort of a larger space in which to express ourselves. This is like the precursor to the masterpiece, but not the masterpiece itself, right? So, there can be some disappointment having to walk away from something that you've put a lot of yourself into. And it's okay to feel that disappointment for sure. If you have to walk away from a personal investment you've made, make sure you communicate with somebody about it, because there are people who care about you, and they probably would not like to see you putting your heart and soul into something and then turning around and abandoning it. That might feel a little bit. That just might seem a little bit strange to somebody who cares about you and your creative process. So just make sure you're communicating with your partners about what you're leaving behind, so that you can, move on to bigger and better things. And now I'm going to go ahead and draw a card for myself, for us today. And I'm just going to sit here and mix these cards up a little bit more while I remind myself and the cards that the sun is in Pisces. And so are Neptune and Jupiter, which are Pisces ruling planets. So that Pisces creative vibe is very, very intense right now. We're in a very fertile place. And the moon will be in Aquarius most of the day today. I got this wrong. This was 12:35 in the afternoon, not the next morning. The moon will be in Aquarius afternoon today. So, we move from that Capricorn vibe of working to that Aquarius vibe of really analyzing situations, so that we can sort of bring up the level for everybody. And so much conjunct energy right now, so much creative energy, so much partnership goals going on here. Very good fortune, lucky opportunities coming up for us. Very sexy and creative time, but also just transformation happening within the context of our inner lives and our partnerships. So, keep that in mind as the intensity flows in, friends. If you're not one of those people who's usually very susceptible to these sort of ambient energies that affect our moods and our intuitions, you might be feeling them at this time anyway. All right, and with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn over a card. Okay, we have death. And this is very appropriate because we've got these conjuncts with Pluto. One on the inner life today, and then coming up on Thursday, we've got these conjuncts with Pluto, with our Venus conjunct Mars vibration going on. So death isn't about death. Death is about change. It says that change is inevitable. And it sort of reiterates what I said earlier, like in order to create something new, sometimes something old has to be destroyed, okay? There's nothing that you create anew that doesn't come from breaking something else down and or leaving something else behind. So my advice is to embrace the change, especially when taken in context with this Eight of Cups vibe, where, like we created something that we thought would be great, and then we got there and it just wasn't really quite what we wanted or needed or expected of ourselves. So we have to move on, right? You have to embrace the change of heart, okay? And the changes that are coming up in our partnerships, because we're looking at some like really deep and total changes. We're talking about evolution. We're talking about transformation, not just subtle shifts, okay? So when you see that coming, when you see, the skeleton on the horse riding up, try not to be underfoot, be intentional and understand what is happening as it's coming up. That's why we do this, so that we can see what's coming and be intentional and understand it as these transformations happen to us. And, death, again, is very particular to Pluto. It's a very Scorpio energy. It's not about death, though. It's about letting go of the old so that we can embrace the new. I believe that's all that I have to say about that today, friends. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate your presence every day. My name is Mel Rose, and I will see you all back here for more Astrology Today tomorrow.